Today we are going to look at the area of a trapezoid. But before we move on to the trapezoid, I just want to remind you one thing about the area of a triangle that will help us. When we look at the area of a triangle, we can perform this operation two ways. Here at the top, we have 1/2 the base times the height. 1/2 of 10 is 5. 5 times 24 is 120. Down here we have the formula written: base times height divided by 2. 10 times 24 is 240, and divided by 2 is 120. So the important thing to note here is that you're going to get the same answer whether you do multiply and find the product, or if you multiply and then divide by 2. The same will be true as we move to look at the area of a trapezoid. Here is an example of finding the area of a trapezoid. So if you look right here in this trapezoid, A, we'll call it, there are two bases. There is base 1 and base 2. They are parallel lines and they each show a different length. The height is here, and it's always easy to find the height because you are looking for the right angle symbol. Here, the way they have the formula written, 1/2 times the height, and then in parentheses, base 1 base 2. We use substitution here, and we put in for base 1 and base 2 5 plus 9, which is 14, and then we insert the height, which is 6. Here they then multiplied 6 times 14, which is 84, and 1/2 of that is 42. Now, the formula is written differently over here, just like how we can write it two ways with the triangle, but of course we get the same answer. Base 1 plus base 2 divided by 2 multiplied by the height. 5 plus 9 is 14. 14 divided by 2 is 7, which we multiply by 6, and then the answer is 42. So whichever formula you use, you will get the same answer. Oftentimes I make my decision based upon if the size of the numbers, or if it is easy to add the bases together and divide by 2. Sometimes you can do that using mental math in your head. Let's try another example. With this trapezoid here, I've started by identifying the two bases. 4 and 8 are the two bases, and they are two parallel lines. The height is 5, and I identified that by looking for the right angle symbol. Let's start with adding together the two bases and doing base 1 plus base 2 divided by 2 and multiplied by the height times the height. So 4 and 8, we're going to substitute those in, and 4 plus 8, that sum is 12. We're going to divide that by 2 and multiply that by 5, which is the height. So 12 divided by 2 is 6, and the product of 6 and 5 is 30. And as I mentioned in the first slide, we are going to get the same answer if we use the formula 1/2 the height multiplied by base 1 plus base 2. So if we use this formula, 1/2 the height, so we're going to substitute in the 5 multiplied by adding base 1 and base 2, which we said before, 8 plus 4 is 12. Then we are going to multiply 1/2 of 5 times 12. Well, 1/2 of the product 5 times 12 is 60. So 1/2 of 60, when we multiply that, of course we multiply straight across, is going to also give us 30, because when we multiply 1 times 60 and divide by 2, we get 30. So the area of this trapezoid is 30. And again, since it's area, we're going to add millimeters squared. And up here, so whichever formula you use for trapezoid, you are going to use that formula to find the area, and remember to put your measurement as squared. So again, you look for the two bases. Those are the two parallel lines. Base 1 and base 2 can be interchangeable. You can put the 8 here or the 4 here. Just make sure you locate the height by finding the right angle side. Let's try one more. With this trapezoid, we begin by identifying the bases. One is 7.7 and the other is 2.3, two parallel lines. The height is 6, and we identify that by looking for the 45-degree angle. With our first formula, base 1 plus base 2 divided by 2 times the height. So we're going to take our 7 7/10 and we are going to add that with 2 3/10. We bring the decimals straight down because we're adding decimals, and the sum of base 1 and base 2 is 10. We are then going to take that sum and divide it by 2. Once we find 10 divided by 2 is 5, we multiply it by 6, and the answer is 30 inches squared. Now if we use the other formula, 1/2 the base multiplied by, 1/2 the height multiplied by base 1 times base 2, we do get the same answer. We do the parentheses first, and we find that 7 7/10 plus 2 3/10 equals 10. We rewrite it and substitute 1/2 of 6 the height times that sum times 10 gives us 60. Then we're going to take the fraction 1/2 and multiply that by 60 over 1, which is going to give us 60 times 1 is 60, and 2 times 1 is 2, which gives us the division problem, 60 divided by 2, and the answer is the same, 30 inches squared. There is our first look at the area of trapezoids. You are now ready to practice some of these on your own.